All right, guys, for those who don't know, this is the Yonhap News Agency official news outlet for South Korea. Some breaking news popping off the press there. North Korea says it's ready to counter U.S. aggression. This is dated the 22nd of April. North Korea has said it is closely monitoring moves by the United States and fully prepared to counter any provocations. The North Foreign Ministry said in a statement released by the Korean Central News Agency on Saturday that Pyongyang will never be intimidated by the recent U.S. actions, including the dispatch of a nuclear aircraft carrier strike group to waters off the Korean peninsula. Recently, the authorities, this is North Korea's statement, quote, recently the authorities of the Trump administration are spouting a load of rubbish, calling for browbeating the DPRK by force of arms every day. That sounds like what they're doing to us. They are crying out for settling the issue with the help of someone. Now, when they say the help of someone, they will not mention China by name. They talk about China as the other country or as someone, and they'll never mention China because of their relations with China. They don't want to harm their relations because they're the lifeline. They're basically everything that props up North Korea and keeps it alive is China. So then when you see them refer to someone, they're talking about China because China is now working with the United States to rein them in. So it says they are crying out for settling the issue with the help of someone seeking to bring nuclear aircraft carrier strike groups, one after another, to the waters off the North Korean peninsula. Yeah, and there's about 4 different strike groups that are going to be out there, sitting there here just a few days. Said the statement dated Friday. DPRK is the acronym for North Korea's official name. Quote, such intimidation and blackmail can never frighten the DPRK. The Invincible Revolutionary Paktusian Army, I guess that's what they call their army, closely following the maneuvers of the U.S., is waiting for an order only after rounding off its full preparedness to counter them immediately, said the statement written in English. The ministry said the North is determined to, quote, go to the end. Ooh, that's an interesting statement right there. They are ready to go to the end, stressing its, quote, access to a powerful nuclear deterrent to protect itself from the U.S. nuclear threat. So they're willing to commit suicide, basically, is what they're saying here. They are willing to go to the end and use their nukes in order to prevent the U.S. from its threat. I don't know how they're thinking they're going to get away with this. It says it then vowed to take the DPRK then vowed to take Korean-style tough counteractions to cope with any U.S. provocations. North Korea then said North Korea neither fears a war nor wants to avoid it. So they really want a war. They don't fear it and they really want it, the ministry said. The latest statement came amid growing tensions on the North Korea peninsula over North Korea's nuclear and missile programs. There is speculation that it may carry out its 6th nuclear test or launch an intercontinental ballistic missile. And that's supposedly going to be taking place here within the next few days. I believe the 25th is another one of their celebratory events where they will do things like this. And now that they've gotten closer to the nuclear technologies being refined and perfected, they're probably really itching to do another nuke test. Now here's another article that came out today and just a little bit ago. This one is titled, and this is from Yonhap News Agency, and they're very accurate, by the way. They are very respected, very accurate. In fact, they were the ones that kind of really let the cat out of the bag that our strike group really wasn't in the waters off of North Korea until, just a few days ago. They were just on their way. So a lot of people had already thought that the strike group was there, but it wasn't. And this media outlet here from South Korea was the one that really clarified the issue for many people. So you can pretty much take what they're saying pretty good. They've got some good intel. They're right there in the midst of everything that's happening in real time here. So it's even beating out our own press. Okay, so it says Washington on April 21st. U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, and other top officials will provide a briefing on North Korea to all 100 senators at the White House next week, a news report said Friday. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Joe Dunford, and Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coats, will join Tillerson and Mattis in the briefing set for Wednesday, Politico reported in a notice sent to Capitol Hill. The briefing had been originally scheduled to take place at the Senate, but the location has since been rescheduled to the White House, the report said. No congressional staffers will be allowed in the briefing, it said. The briefing appears to show the seriousness the Trump administration views the North Korean issue. Tensions on the North Korean peninsula have sharply spiked in recent weeks as Washington and Pyongyang have rattled their sabers against each other, with the U.S. announcing it would send a massive aircraft carrier strike group to the waters off the Korean peninsula, and the North responding with a missile launch attempt, even though it ended in failure. The two sides have also engaged in a war of words, with American officials repeatedly saying that all options are on the table in an apparent reference to military strikes, and North Korean officials also churning out highly belligerent rhetoric. So yeah, that's another one that's popping off here and just hitting the press here. And we got one more here. This is also from the Yonhap News Agency. This one's title is North Korea apparently slams China for stepped-up sanctions. Now, we've really enlisted China to help, and it looks like they're on board, all the way to the point of stopping coal exports from North Korea and turning them back, even up to the point of threatening to cut off their oil exports and their gas. Now, I heard that they're rationing gas right now in North Korea because of this sanction that's being stepped up by China in response to trying to help aid us into averting a war. Is it going to work? Well, here is the North Korean response to China. Now, their wording is very odd. It sounds funny in English, so just bear with us here on this. Some of it doesn't really make sense, but I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. It says, North Korea has apparently asked China to step up anti-North sanctions. Oh, I'm sorry. North Korea has apparently asked China not to step up anti-North sanctions, warning of catastrophic consequences in their bilateral relations. Pyongyang issued the warning through commentary written by a person named Jong Phil, on its official Korean Central News Agency website, which was released on Saturday. It's rare for Pyongyang's media to level criticism at Beijing, though the KCNA didn't directly mention China in the commentary titled, "Are you good at dancing to the tune of others?" and dated Friday. The commentary instead called the nation at issue a country around the DPRK. It's a country that's around us somewhere that we're talking to. We're not going to say China, though. Using North Korea's official name, which is the DPRK, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. They go on to say to China, not a single word about the U.S. act of pushing the situation on the Korean peninsula to the brink of war after introducing hugest ever strategic assets into the waters off of the Korean peninsula is made, but such rhetoric as necessary step and reaction to decisive level is openly heard from a country around the DPRK to intimidate it over its measures of self-defense, the commentary's introduction in English read. So they're basically saying here, this country that will remain nameless is collaborating with the enemy, and we used to think they were friends, and now they're making all these absurd statements, and all we're doing is trying to protect ourselves. So then it goes on to say, the DPRK then goes on to say, particularly the country is talking rubbish that the DPRK has to reconsider the importance of relations with it, talking about China, and that it can help preserve security of the DPRK and other necessary support and aid for its economic prosperity, claiming the latter will not be able to survive the strict economic sanctions by someone, which that someone would be China. So they're basically just reiterating what China has stated, that the DPRK is not going to survive if they don't listen to China's advice, and all these sanctions that will come down if they don't. And they're basically saying, we don't agree with that. And so they go on to say, then the KCNA commentary warned that the neighboring country will certainly face a catastrophe. China's going to face a catastrophe in their bilateral relationship as long as it continues to apply economic sanctions together with the United States. If this country, who will remain nameless, keeps applying economic sanctions on the DPRK while dancing with the devil, that's basically what they're saying, dancing to the tune of someone after misjudging the will of the DPRK, it will be applauded by the enemies of the DPRK, but it should get itself ready to face the catastrophic consequences in the relations with the DPRK. As I was saying, you're gonna find out, China, if you keep doing this, you're gonna find out later on you're dancing with the devil, and then you're gonna find our full wrath and the consequences of us not being in a relationship with you anymore. So then it goes on to say, the North Korea watchers here say the commentary appears to be Pyongyang's response after Chinese experts and media have recently called for escalating sanctions against the North, including the suspension of oil exports in case of its 6th nuclear test. So you see, it really just seems like it's just a childlike kind of response from a country that has nuclear weapons. Is this not the right and the appropriate cartoon commentary right here? A big baby with nukes.